Hello everyone. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face, my card making space. We are live, unedited, unscripted, unfiltered, and the unpaid intern will be back in a second. I was going to say he's in the corner, but he went to deal with the kids. So, hopefully everyone's having a good day so far. Everything is chaos. Hello, Kathy, a brand new fan. That's exciting. Ooh, everything's moving around on me here.
Is it?
Yep. I was watching Make the Llama cards. Those llama cards, yeah. I posted a holiday card video earlier this week. For those that aren't aware, this is the first year that I have followed through so far with making holiday cards, at least one video a month of making Christmas cards. And my goal was to get them up on like the 25th of each month, but that I give myself just a big leeway with that. And yeah, I got my holiday cards up just a few days ago, a couple days ago. I've posted a lot this week. Speaking of which, I do have another video that's going to come up after this live. I'll post it. It's actually all ready to go, everything. So using one of my all-time favorite wafer die sets, because I did another one. So I'll post that a little later because that sale that Simon Says Stamp has going on their brand products, I have the info in the description box below. That ends tonight. Yeah, that ends tonight. So I've got that going. Thank you, Zon. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, I've got that sale info below. I'll post that video a little later. I'll have more videos coming this week. I don't think I'm not sure what that one. The mushrooms, yeah. Yeah, I used them again. I couldn't help myself. I like it. When I like something, I will use it over and over again. And heck, I like everything. Let's be honest. I like everything, and I would use everything a million times over. It just, this being my job, and I haven't yet figured out how to clone myself or have more time in the day. The unpaid intern's back. He's in the corner, so he'll help moderate and keep everyone in line within reason. And yeah, we're going to do some watercolor today. We're going to do watercolor. We're going to do it. I don't have a problem with it. I like watercolor, but I know it's intimidating for a lot of people. So we're going to do it today, and we'll just see what happens. And I have an absolute mess going on, as per usual. And again, everything I plan on using within reason is listed and linked below. He'll also post it in the chat here and there just to make life easier for everyone. And like always, disclaimer, my links are affiliate links. All it means when it's an affiliate link is there's a little tracking cookie. And when you click on my links, it tracks you, not in a bad way. And if you place an order, I get a little tiny percentage of that. And over the month, it adds up. It does not cost you anything at all, ever. There's no hidden fees, no extra add-ons, nothing. I wouldn't play with those if that was the case. And then, yeah, it adds up throughout the month, and that's what helps pay the bills.
Keep the lights on.
Keeps the lights on, keeps the heaters going, and enables me to keep paying the absolute insane amount of money I hemorrhage for my software to live stream and my website and all the boring stuff. Anyway, hello to everybody. Okay, and yes, hello to everyone just tuning in. Okay, so there we go. Okay, everything seems to be working. So I pulled this set out. Carefully move that over. This is the No Place Like Home. Oh, I knew there was something I was going to add. Okay, I'm going to do this right now. This set is illustrated by Alberto Gava. He is a phenomenal coloring magician, honestly. I'm going to post a link to his Instagram in the description box below because I was going to do this because Alberto is going to do a month-long coloring challenge starting in April, which is in like 2 days. So that's why I wanted to post that. So if you guys don't follow him on Instagram, you should. It's inspiring. It's crazy how talented he is. His coloring is just, and he'll do little reels sometimes too, and he'll post like graphics with the color numbers and like the specific colors he used, like all the things. Yeah, I'm gonna find him so I can link to him. Because his username, it's like low. There we go. Okay, I found him. I am copying that, and I am going to post that. Alberto's IG. So it's going to be posted in the description box below this video. So you guys can check him out. He's super fabulous. He did, and if you go to his Instagram after this live, or if you're on this live and you have your phone with you, whatever, he actually did an image with these, and he put like daffodils. It's the cutest thing. It's so cute. His coloring, again, phenomenal. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out his Instagram and then play along with his challenge. I guess he's got a bunch of like sponsors lined up. He's going to do giveaways, all the things. So I'm just giving a shout out. Play along, you know, coloring is fun. So this set is super cute, and we're going to watercolor. We're going to do it. I'm going to do it live. We're going to see. I made a little like scene. I built it. I was going to grab, okay, no, this is what I was planning on using. So I kind of like built a scene with some of the images just to give me an idea of what I'm planning on doing. And then, and then I've got, okay, let's move that out of the way. I have some Canson XL watercolor paper. So we're going to stick that in there, and then I can, oh, the other, well, no, I won't need to do that. I'm going to line up my little images on here. I'm going to space them out on this one because I need space to be able to die cut these because I do have the coordinating wafer dies. So we'll just space everything out. There's a cute little sun on there too. It's adorable. Okay, so we're going to use that. And then we're going to use some of this. And we're going to use some of this. We're going to do some heat embossing because it's one thing I personally like to do when it comes to watercoloring is more often than not, I like to heat emboss my images because it gives a raised edge and makes things a little bit easier and keeps things a little more contained, which I'll show once we get to it. So anti-static powder first. There we go. Yeah, Lisa, his Instagram it's impressive. It's impressive. His coloring skills. And then he can draw. He started doing that a while ago, and he'd post a little image of something, and it's like, oh, I recognize that stamp. But then it's like, where did he get the rest of it? And then it's like, oh, he drew it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, he's been designing stamp sets for Simon Says Stamp for a while now. And adorable. Adorable. So anti-static powder on the watercolor paper. And then my go-to, which is VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. You don't have to heat emboss this. I have literally just stamped it and immediately started watercoloring and not had a problem. But I like to heat emboss for those raised edges, for those little bumper pads. It just keeps things, like I said, keeps things contained. But also because I don't have patience, I would rather have that and not have to wait to let things dry. That's why I do it. So we got that. And then for the actual heat embossing powder, I'm using, this is Wow's Clear Matte Dull embossing powder, which I use quite often. The only difference between this and your basic clear embossing powder is this has a matte finish. So you can't tell that it's heat embossed because doesn't have that shiny finish to it. And I just posted a video like yesterday, the day before, I don't remember. The one with the blue and yellow flowers, that video, and I used this embossing powder, and then I used it on white cardstock for the backgrounds, and you get a better idea of like how it looks like on its own. But regular clear embossing powder works too. It doesn't matter. Okay, got that on there. And then we can melt this with heat tool. I know, these little house images are so cute. Make sure everything is melted, and it looks like it is. Almost. Not quite. Now it is. Okay. So we got that. And then I'll quickly wipe off these stamps before I forget. Thank you, Sylvia. Those cards are fun. It's always fun to do sort of an unexpected color combo, and that watercoloring was ridiculously easy on those flowers. We're kind of going to do something similar today. The only difference is this time I'm not going to add shimmer, although you could. You could. I'm sure I'm going to add splatter though. That's just a given. Okay. Got those wiped off so that I don't manage to get black ink all over everything. And then we can just put these back where they belong, because I'm probably, yeah, I'll be needing the MISTI again when we do the sentiments. So let's put all these little guys away, and then we can get to watercoloring. So there we go. Get that out of the way. We got our little images on the watercolor paper, and then I'm going to use a variety of just water reactive inks to watercolor with. You don't need special tools. You don't need a set of watercolors. If you want to get a set of watercolors, there's a million to choose from. So I got a little palette, any sort of non-porous surface, my inks, the jar of forbidden water that the unpaid intern's not allowed to drink, even though he keeps being tempted by it, especially when sometimes it turns really pretty colors, depending on what I'm like coloring with or splattering with, but usually it turns to mud. Don't drink the watercolor water. A cloth, paper towel will do, that's just to wipe the brush on, and then I'm using my little Altenew brushes. This is the size 1 and a size 0 round brush that comes, it's a set of 5 or something. I bought that set, gosh, a year and a half ago, something, and I've been using them a lot, and I really like them. I like them. Oh my goodness. Hello to everyone just tuning in. You didn't really miss anything. So I am going to smush my inks onto my little palette, and we'll use that one, and this one. We're going to, of course, need the greens for all the greenery. Just like so. And I do have the colors listed, but of course you can do whatever you want. You can use whatever colors you want. A little bit of yellow. And then we've got, probably going to use a fair bit of that. Got some gingerbread brown. And then some mocha. Which, funny enough, all the colors I'm using are the colors I use in the video that I'm going to post later today. So it's just interesting how you can get different. Stop it. Stop it. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't drink the paint water. God.
Healing potion.
It's not, it is not a healing potion. Stop it. Okay. I'll zoom in a bit so you guys can like, there we go. There we go. This should work. So I got 2 brushes. The big one is going to be my clean brush. This is the one I'm going to dip in the water and add water first. And then the small one is what I'm going to use to pick up the color. So having 2 brushes does help. It does. This is going to be interesting. I usually I do like very messy watercolor live, but doing this like live. Oh, the water's clean for now. I just changed it. It was like gray sludge, you know, which dirty watercolor water is a good thing sometimes because you'll get more variation. However, my water gets full of like gouache and paint and things, not just water-based things. So that's why I change mine out quite frequently. But a lot of watercolor artists prefer dirty paint water because it gives more variation. Again, it just is what it is. But anywho, let's start small. Let's start with our little shrubs. So I'm just wetting it first with just clean water, which looks like nothing. But that's going to wet the surface. And then the minute I go in, I can swirl my brush in the ink. And because this is wet, it immediately starts to move. And then I can take the darker shade of ink and start dropping that in there as well. And then if I want to get a little creative, I can add a tiny bit of the yellow and bring that in kind of at the top. Because green and yellow mix nicely together. And that's it. And then you just let it dry. Super simple. You guys don't listen to him. No. He's an unpaid intern for a reason, all right? He doesn't have the skills or the knowledge, and he's also a very bad influence. Don't drink the paint water. Yep. Okay, so then for the greenery, we're just gonna repeat. You know, I start with the lighter green after I got the area wet with just clean water, and then I can go in with the darker green. And just sort of let things move a bit. Pick up some of that lighter green. Clean off my brush. Pick up a bit of that yellow. And that's it. Okay. Yes, Tori, this is the new little what was it called again? No Place Like Home set. It's so cute. Okay, so for the trees, actually we'll do these shrubs too, and then we'll do the trees since we're doing all this little greenery. So we'll wet these areas with the water. And then start painting with the ink. Just like so. And then I go in with the darker shade. And drop that in. And let them kind of blend together. Bring in some of the lighter green again. And then finally bring in a little bit of that yellow. Just to give everything that little extra something. Simple.
Man, we gotta get a house with a tower.
I know, right? You might be able. Yeah, no, don't drink the water. Don't drink the water. Technically, especially like dye inks, and I'm like being dead serious right now. Technically, like, these are all like non-toxic things like that. I feel a responsibility when it comes to actual, like when you're dealing with actual pigments, like artist pigments. Some of them are actually toxic. It just depends. There's not very many of them. There's very few. And it, you know, when we're dealing with like card making and this kind of stuff, most of it is non-toxic, super fine. That's why I say don't drink the water. Because if you're playing around with actual watercolor pigments, some of those pigments are legit toxic. You just don't drink the paint water.
Charcoal isn't a good thing.
Yeah. Just don't. Don't listen to him, okay? Yes, the sale, this set you can get on sale. That, because this is a Simon brand set, and Simon Says Stamp, I've got that info in the description box. That sale and the coupon code for it expires tonight. So, especially when it's like bigger sets and the bigger die sets that are pricier, I always wait for a good sale. Like, that's the way to go. Okay, so we're just gonna keep doing the same thing with all of this greenery. So I got it all wet first, and the reason I get it wet with just the clean forbidden water is having the wet surface on the watercolor paper means everything moves and blends a lot easier. And I'll show that actually in a second here. So added in a bit of that yellow just to keep everything kind of samesies. Add a little bit more of this darker green. So that's because that's wet on wet. If I was doing, let's just stamp, because like I said, I can just stamp this. It's not going to matter. This doesn't need to be stamped perfectly. This doesn't need to be heat embossed because it just doesn't matter. But I've got enough space here, so I'm just going to stamp this tree right there. Again, doesn't need to be red. So I'm not going to wet this first. I'm just leaving it as is. So now I'm going to do wet on dry, and you'll see like I'm picking up the paint or the ink on my wet brush, and then when I'm going in to paint it, the color is not going to move. It's going to stay exactly where I applied it here. I'll do it with the darker green so it shows better. So it's going to blend right here because it's being layered, but all of this other area isn't. And unless you move fast enough, like you have to move quickly, but see how it's not moving because this area isn't wet, so there's nowhere for the ink to travel. So you've got to move fairly quickly if you want things to be smooth. And if you don't move quick enough, you can end up with like watermarks, things like that. Again, it all just comes down to just taking time to practice. And neither way is wrong because it also depends on what kind of look you're going for. So more often than not, especially when I'm painting with inks, whether it's these inks, Distress inks work wonderfully for this. Distress oxide inks work wonderfully for this. Concord 9th inks work for this. And Altenew's fresh dye inks. And there's other inks I'm sure that'll work too, but those are the ones I have used myself and know, and they work. So it just depends. Depends on the look you're going for, all the different factors. And it's just something you need to practice because watercoloring takes just practice. So I'm going to add some more green, this lightest green, because I've used up all of it. So I'll add a bit more of that to my palette. And now I can go back and finish the greenery on this guy. Yeah, Anita, it's in the description box under the video. Do you want to post it for me, please? The sale code, and it applies to all Simon brand products. Yeah, that one. Okay, well, you can post a link too. It applies to Simon brand products, CZ Design brand products, and the Rainbow Splash products, because all of those are under the Simon Says Stamp umbrella. So And that code will get you 23% off because it's Simon Says Stamp's 23rd birthday. So, yeah. And then that code ends tonight. Yeah, because I got a reminder email and I was like, ooh, stock up while you can. Okay. So again, I'm just going in after I added my clean water. Going in with this lightest shade first. And then I go in with the darker shade. And they're just going to blend together. And get to know each other and do their thing. Just like so. And then I can take a bit of the yellow and just add a little bit of that into there. It just gives it that little extra something. Here we go. So there was all the greenery. And then, yes, this adorable little sun, which I just think is the cutest. This one I'm not going to bother with wet on wet. I'm just picking up the yellow because it's so small. I can just paint it. Just like that. Just simple. So we did him. And then for all of the tree trunks, I'm going to do the same thing with this darkest shade, this mocha. Actually, I'm going to mix mocha. And this was gingerbread, I think. Yeah, I'm going to mix the mocha and the gingerbread color together. Just because. And then these I'm just going to paint. I'm not going to bother doing the wet on wet and the blending. We're just going to paint it in. And trying to keep a light hand because I am heavy-handed. But this is also why I heat emboss everything. Because I got the because I went over the line a tiny bit. You can barely see it, but it's starting to feather because this is still wet. So if I hadn't heat embossed this, when I put that brown on, it all would have just started to go into everything else. That's why I like to heat emboss my images. Because it helps to mostly prevent that as long as I use a light hand, which isn't my forte. It's not my forte. So, Paula, the paint palette linked in my supply list. It's just a Art Essentials Basics little plastic doohickey. It's the same one I've been using for years. Yars. So yeah, it's linked in the supplies, and then the actual paints are they're inks. They're inks. Positively saturated inks. So, did you mess it up? Yeah, you did. You did. We're gonna make the house cute. That's why I got the purple in the tide pool. Why not? We can do whatever we want. So we're gonna make this house purple and aqua. Why not? So paint it with the clean water. Then I'll pick up the purple ink and see how it just immediately starts to move. Because the watercolor paper is wet. So it's just going to take the path of least resistance. Doop, doop, doop. And that's how you'll get like a smoother look. But that is the biggest struggle with watercolor, is learning to control the water. It takes practice, and it's still something I struggle with because it depends on so many things. It depends on the paper you're using, the climate, whether or not I have my heaters going. When I have my heaters going, things dry faster. I'm like fighting the time and all of the things. So we just work section by section, painting the clean water, and then we go in, pick up the ink, and drop it in. And if a person wants to, you could just leave it and just let it dry, and you'll get like a different look depending on where things decided to travel. More often than not, though, I like to play with it and pull it out and fill in. It just, again, kind of depends on the look I'm going for. But it's going to be a cute little purple house. And yes, I would like a tower.
Yes.
I'd like a bigger house. We need a bigger house. We need a bigger house. Ah.
But a tower would be nice.
It would be. Although, really, a castle would be nice too, you know.
Scottish ruin.
Yeah, I would like a Scottish ruin. Although we can't really live in just a pile of rocks, but, you know, maybe we could build something with a tower next to it. I don't know. A girl can dream. Okay. This tower is going to be the tide pool color because I think it'll be cute. Why not? See how the color just moves. And that will always vary too, depending on the color you're using, the medium, whether it's inks or watercolors. Some are way more reactive than others. It legitimately just depends, and it can vary. Like some colors are just crazy reactive. The second they hit the water, they almost explode. And then other ones just kind of sit, do their thing. Watercoloring is a very interesting experiment, really. See? It's so cute. The mushroom dyes, those are linked in like the last however many videos I posted, because I did a couple, and I've got a video coming this evening. Actually, can you open one of the last video I did with the mushrooms, and you can post a link? It'll be there. You'll be able to find it. That one. There'll be a link to the mushrooms, because yes, you can get those on sale. Okay, so we did those, and then I'm gonna take this tide pool color and I'm gonna stick it on this cute little scallop trim. So again, this is one where I'm not gonna bother wetting those areas before, because these are just tiny little areas, so it doesn't matter. We'll just paint them. And then I'm also going to use it here and there and there and there. And we'll do the trim on this door in that color as well. Just because we can. So we got that. And then I'll use the purple for these little windowsills. Just like that. And accidentally went outside the line with that. Which means, and then I just made it a bigger mess. But all I gotta do is you take a tissue and just kind of pick that up. I can quickly go back in with the tide pool color. And paint over it, which just means I have to quickly fill in the rest of it. This just helps to mostly eliminate the mess I made. This is going to create a little bit of texture since I went back over it before it was fully dry, but I'm also not worried about it, you know? And then I can take the purple Good enough. Good enough. And then for the roof line, I'm just going to use the mocha color, which is the darkest. And paint it in. Just like so. See, it's coming together. It's super cute. I'd like a large piece of land, tiny house with a warehouse for a craft room. Yeah, you and me both. I think we would all like that. I think we would all like that. Because, yeah. Especially for me, since this is my job, I need... Hence me being in the garage. Because there was nowhere else for me to go. And I needed space. And I went outside the lines. But you know what? That happens. I'm not going to worry about it. I ain't going to worry about it. It's fine. This is where watercolor needs patience, which I've been very open about that. It is not something I possess. At least not in very big amounts. Here we go. And then we'll just do the door. We'll do the door brown too. Just because we can. Just paint him in. Just like that. And then, first off, I'll take a bit more of that purple and just dot it right there. And then before I do the trim on the windows, I'll take a bit of that yellow and I'll paint it in these little windows. They left all the lights on, so their power bill is going to be insane. So we got that. Got our little house. And then we can just take, yeah, I'm just going to use the lighter shades of brown. And do that for the trim on the windows. Just using the very edge of this little brush. And because as usual, I can't have a light hand to save my life. Some of it bled into the windows, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And there we go. And then if you want to get, actually let's dry this first because it's not dry. So let's dry this so it's dry first. Okay, so now it's dry enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, the small one, I'm going to swirl it in the purple ink. And I'm going to just paint, not a bunch, but just kind of like dots and dashes here and there to give the illusion of brickwork. Grab a bit more. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just like that. I'll do some more up top. Add a few more. One right there. And that just gives it that little extra bit of texture. And then I can do the exact same thing with the tide pool color. So pick some of that up with my brush. And it's just like dash, dot, 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 dash, dot.
Some Morse code going on in there.
Yeah. The only Morse code I know is SOS.
Well,
If I ever am stranded, you know, I know SOS and Morse code for whatever reason.
I think everybody from our generation kind of knows that. I don't know if it's from a movie or.
I can't remember where that came from, like why we learned it, but it's the same thing. We've talked about this before. You needed to know SOS in Morse code. You need to know how, well, really, everyone should know how to build a fire. And then quicksand, lava, and the Bermuda Triangle were going to play key parts in our adult life. And I have yet to have encountered any of those things. But, you know.
We got our top minds on the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Problem.
So, yeah. We've got all the things. And then another thing you can even do is just this. There's no ink on this. This is just water. Is I can take it and just kind of drag it across the roof line here. And that's going to lighten some areas and also build a bit of texture. And then if I take the tissue, I can see.
Drop and roll. Yeah, that's another good one.
Stop. Well, that one, like, yeah, everyone needs to know that one. Actually, I'm going to go over this.
If they know what to do during that sort of thing.
Yeah, we had entire. Yeah, I'm not happy with how this turned out, so I'm going to go over it. It's not the end of the world. I'm just going to paint over it. Yeah, I remember those presentations in school. Like, and they were school wide. Like,
yeah.
They weren't just in class. It's like we had to go to the gym and it was like, stop, drum, roll. Because it's like, yeah, not only was the Bermuda Triangle and quicksand and lava going to be a huge thing, but also apparently we were going to like potentially be lit on fire. Like there were so many things. I don't know. Maybe just as a kid, I was like, I didn't know back then what anxiety even was a thing. But, you know, I think I was just a very anxious child. I was very concerned about those things, you know?
What if they all happen at the same time?
Well, yeah. How am I going to do SOS if I'm like sinking in a vat of quicksand in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle on fire? I don't know. How do you stop, drop, and roll when you're stuck in the quicksand? Anyway, there we go. There's our little images. Just gonna fully dry this. And yes, like Elise says, grease fires, if you have a grease fire in your kitchen, aka you're deep frying something, do not throw water on it. That will cause yeah, you will burn your house down. Not good. Okay, make sure everything needs to be dry. I've got one spot being a little bit persistent here. There we go. So I want to make sure that everything is dry before we die cut. Okay, so everything is dry. And I need to, let me zoom out a little bit so we're not, there we go. move the watercolor water out of the way so that I don't knock that over. Has happened. Not fun. I'm not worried about that tree trunk. That was that's not part of the, yeah, that was just the demo. I'm not keeping that. We only need the 2 trees and the shrubs for this card. There we go.
Oh, bomb drills. Jeez.
Yeah, well, some of the ones that were older during like the Cold War era, I've heard about that kind of stuff. Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with that as children. Thankfully, we didn't have to deal with that. Anyway. Okay. Gonna wipe this stamp off that I used for the little demo, because same thing. I have a tendency to get my elbows in everything. Okay. So, we got all our little images. And then I need, which I thought was the one thing I didn't do, was I need the coordinating wafer dies. And this dude, yeah, I've shown this before. I'm going to make a little template for this little wafer die because he's going to be like impossible to line up because it's like you can't see it. So I just need a little tiny, we'll do a tiny little baby sticky note. And then I'm going to take, I need a Sharpie. Why did all my Sharpies grow legs and walk off? What the heck? Seriously?
You want me to go searching?
Oh, don't bother searching. Why did all my Sharpies disappear? Oh, here's one. Ha! Okay. No. I'm going to take a Sharpie marker and I'm just going to make a mark right there. And then I'm going to make a mark on there. That'll make sense in a second. So then we'll just run this through on its own and die cut it. Okay, so now I've got a little template. I don't need this piece. That's just whatever. So then what I can do is I can use my template. Ha! Lined that up like perfectly the first time. So I'm going to trim off just a bit of the bottom because he's hanging over my little house. So let's trim that off. So I have my little template. I can line him up. And since I've got my mark here, there's my mark. So I know that that just lines up right there. And I can feel it fit into place inside the template. So now it's going to die cut. So we got that. And then I just need the other dies for all these images. So we got our little house with its adorable little tower. We got our tree, just like so. I need the other tree. There we go. And then the little like funky shrub guys. That one. And nope. Nope, there he is. I was like, we're missing one. No, he's right there. Okay. There we go. So now we can die cut these. Okay. Oh, I'm going to tape this one into place because he's deciding not to stay where he needs. So I'm going to tape some of these guys just to save me the aggravation. And when I tape my wafer dies into place, I always try to avoid getting any tape on the actual image, especially when I've done things like watercolor or anything that is basically involved a lot of coloring. I try to avoid, because even low tack tapes when they're being pressed through a die cut machine and that pressure, sometimes it will fuse the tape to the watercolor paper, cardstock, whatever, it doesn't matter. And that's why I make a habit of taping outside. You know, the tape can touch the wafer die, the tape can touch the outside of the cardstock, because I don't care if that gets wrecked, it doesn't matter. But I've literally had it where I had a piece of tape, you know, across the image, and then you go to peel it off after it's run through the die cut machine, and it's ripped off some of the image. So I always put the tape towards the outside. This guy's in place, he's good. Okay. There we go. So now we can die cut these guys. There we go. So we got all our little images. Didn't die cut a couple as perfectly. Not too worried about it. So cute. And then our little sun. Carefully remove my template because I can just keep that in the packaging. And see, he's die cut. Look how cute he is. So yeah, that's one way to get around with sometimes those really intricate wafer dies, especially like sun images, because you've got all the little bursts. Those are some of the hardest to line up. So I've got the line on the die and the line on my template, and I can always die cut another template the next time I go to use this, but this one still works and it didn't tear. So we're good to go. So I can get those out of the way. I can get that out of the way. I don't need that anymore. We will be doing a teensy bit more die cutting, but now I've got all my little images. Just all adorable. And then the wafer dies. I know I'm going to need this one, and I'm going to need, I need the die for that one. Perfect. So I can put the rest back in the packaging so I don't lose them, because, you know, that happens a lot too. Let's put those guys in there. Okay, so there's sentiments in this set that I want to use. There's that one, and then I'll put that one, and I'm going to use Nina Desert Storm for that sentiment. So I just need a little scrap. There we go. And then I found a scrap of lavender cardstock for that one. There we go. Okay, we're going to heat emboss these. Do I want to just use black? I think I'm just going to use the same. I was going to use white. Ooh, I'm going to save my little template. I stick him right there. So then I have him for next time. Okay. And then, yeah, I'm just going to stamp these with the same ink and use the same embossing powder. Let's keep our lives a little simpler. Or my life anyway. Because why not? So, let's just take this piece, line that guy up, just like that. Boop. No, I'm going to white emboss this. Ignore me. Don't actually ignore me, you know? Just give me a sec. I want... Okay. Where's my... There we go. Anti-static powder. Get that on there. And then line him up in the corner. Stay. This I'm going to stamp with just clear embossing ink. I'm going to ink it up and stamp it a couple times. Just making sure I get really good coverage of the ink. And then I can coat this with some white embossing powder. Tap off the excess. And then I'll set that aside for a second because that can just sit. And then while it's sitting, I'll take this piece of the Nina. Doesn't matter, the sentiments don't need to be lined up because I'm going to die cut them. So, anti-static powder. And then stamp this with the Nocturne ink. This one, I don't need to heat emboss it. I could just leave it, but I've mentioned this before. It's pretty much guaranteed I'm going to smear it because the VersaFine Clair inks, they are an oil-based pigment ink, and they do take a little bit, you know, they've got a longer dry time, which is fine, but I have a really bad habit of smearing it. So I prefer to just heat emboss it and save myself the aggravation. Do you have trouble with your cardstock warping when you emboss? Not very often, but I let my tool heat up. It does not take long to heat up. You guys see me, I give it, seconds. I don't leave it running. It does not need a minute. Literally seconds. I get it good and hot, and then I melt. The second it's melted, I remove it. This did not warp at all. Larger images, the longer the heat's on there, some cardstock's just going to warp. Thinner cardstock will also warp. And again, this didn't warp. It's going to vary, but the minute your embossing powder melts, the minute it goes shiny and melted, I move my tool to the next area. You know what I mean? And then once it's melted, I immediately remove the tool. If you overheat your embossing powder, it will liquefy. So like this sentiment, see, it's how I did pretty good. If I overheat, if it's looking patchy, it can be a couple things. One, you might not have stamped, there might not have been enough embossing powder to begin with. That's why you saw me ink it up and stamp the sentiment multiple times, because this sentiment has such wide, solid areas. So I made sure I had good coverage of my ink and then fully covered it with the embossing powder. So if it looks patchy, you might not have stamped it. Your ink pad might need re-inking, or you should have tried stamping it a couple times. You might just not have had enough embossing powder. The second issue is if you overheat it. So, because once it's smooth and shiny, which took 2 seconds, I move the heat tool away. If you continue to heat it, it liquefies the embossing powder, like literally liquefies it, and the embossing powder sinks into the cardstock. And then you'll have those like patchy areas where it's kind of like specifically like white embossing powder. It will sink in and it'll be kind of white, but weird, and it's not shiny. 99% of the time, it's because you overheated it. So, yeah. And then just thinner cardstocks might warp. It kind of depends. And sometimes also, depending on your climate. Because if you're in, say, a really humid climate, your cardstock might not actually be like that dry. So when you're using a heat tool and like that level of heat could cause the cardstock to dry out and it'll start to curl, which isn't the end of the world. Cardstock doesn't have a memory. It's paper. So if it is warped, I just, and if I'm die cutting, I don't worry about it at all, because running it through the die cut machine usually will flatten it out. And then other times, if it's like a big panel, say I've embossed an entire background and it's a little warped, I've added water, done watercolor, and I've shown that in videos where it ends up being like, meh, that's where I'll use my foam tape to adhere everything and it flattens it out. So there's always ways around it. So hopefully that made sense. I think the first time I ever heat embossed, I scorched the card. Yeah, it doesn't take long. These tools, like I've talked about, one, when you're done using it, you unplug it. That's what I always do. I do not leave this plugged in ever, because all it would take, these things get to, I think it's like 350 or 400. I think it's over 400 degrees. Like, it gets hot and it doesn't take much. Like heat embossing doesn't take long. This one specifically, but no embossing tool should take more than a few seconds to heat up. And I say that because I have literally seen people post images, because there's other heat embossing tools that have a plastic guard right here, and that's to keep, because this metal part gets incredibly hot. Do not touch. Stay away from it. But they've got like a guard, and I've seen people like post images of like that guard melted because they let their heat tool warm up for like 5 minutes. It doesn't need that. Few seconds. That's why you see, and you don't need to do this. I've got asbestos hands, you know. That's like cooking and doing things, and I'm just, the kids are getting the tongs and Chris is getting the tongs out, and I'm just like, I just grab it with my fingers and flip it over. I don't care. Like, I don't feel it. Anyway, because I can feel it, but a few seconds. That's all you need. Like, yeah. And then when you're done, unplug it. Okay? It's the fire hazard. This is a serious tool. Anyway. Okay. I stupidly heated something up while on my son. The stamp says yes, and you weren't stupid. I did it. I kind of did it on purpose though, because I was curious. I knew what was going to happen, and I wanted to show it. Okay, I have a stack of them. Literally, I have a stack of. No one needs this much crap, but I'm always curious. Okay, there's one of my main ones, but I don't think that's the one, unless it's flattened out over time. Was it this one? Before we had all the grip mats, we had these, and oh, there we go. Here it is. This is the one I was going to show you guys. Okay. So these are the stick. Brutus Monroe has these stick and stamp mats, and then he partnered with Simon Says Stamp. It's the same thing. So these have adhesive on them. And before we had all the grip mats, I would use these to like hold my die cuts. As you can see, I would stick my die cuts to this and like slap ink on and watercolor and all the things. These are not heat resistant. See? I had die cuts on here and I was curious. I had a feeling, and so I was using my heat tool to dry the die cuts quicker, and it melted it. See? But I didn't get rid of it because they're still flat. I still use it. I don't care. But yeah, same with your your grip mats, the photopolymer grip mats. Those are not heat resistant. The only types of ones are the ones that are silicone that are labeled as heat resistant. So like the craft mats, the Tim Holtz ones that I use, the tonic ones, Waffle Flower has some silicone. They're white mats. Those are heat resistant. These are not. Neither are any of our, here, like these, like the Pawsitively Perfect Craft Tacky. Like these are photopolymer, not heat resistant. It's not a horrible thing. Like I'll have something on here and I'll have my heat tool, but I'll have it way up high, and just kind of, just a light breeze. That's fine. But you do not want to like heat emboss with stuff stuck to your grip mats or to these, because you're going to melt them. Don't want to do that. And especially like some of these big grip mats, they're not cheap. Like this is their newer one that's like, this is like 9x12. I haven't even used it yet. This thing's enormous. Yeah, it's 9x12. This thing's enormous. Anyway, don't use heat on them. Just, yeah. And these especially, they're not heat resistant. I took one for the team, y'all, and I tested it out. But honestly, I think when I was doing it, my brain just went derp. And I wasn't thinking, and I was just like, do. And then I was like, what? And it just melted. So, anyway. Okay. Doodly doo. You want to add, if you want, like, that big one, Mom's Snoozy, here, I'll hand it to you. There's type in ST0173. He can post a link to it. That's what I have in mine, because I get asked about this. That's what's in my, not the big one. This is another one of Simon's. This one I have linked. It's linked next to the MISTI. So I have one of the grip mats in my MISTI, and I actually stick it on top of a stencil mat, because depending on what I'm doing, I can just I keep the little transfer sheet to keep that stick intact. So that sits in the bottom of my MISTI, and then I have the grip mat on top of it. And roughly about once a week or so, I'll take this out and I'll clean this off because it gets dust and anti-static powder and stuff on it. So when I find, like right now, it's not very grippy, so I do need to clean it off again. So I just rinse it with water, let it air dry, and then I throw it back in here and it's good to go. But I got that everything. Get in your home. I got hair everywhere. Man, go. It gets so staticky in here sometimes. Okay, so that's how I do what I do. But yeah. And like I always say, with the grip mats, do you need multiples of them? No. I have a ton because I do this as a job. And some do get sent to me. Some I purchase because I'm just curious. But they all work great. Choose whatever. I got one in my MISTI, and then I've got like 30 other ones. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway. Yeah, no, in the MISTI, the MISTI comes with, here it is. I actually have them. When you get just a MISTI, it comes with usually this one, a foam insert and sometimes some grid paper. It can vary. It depends. I also have this one because I have more than one MISTI, but it's the same idea. This one is just the foam and it's got a Hero Arts grid printed on it. But that's what comes with a MISTI. And technically, all you need with a MISTI is just like this foam insert. You keep the foam insert in here if you're using clear photopolymer stamps, because this raises up the surface a little bit. And then you can use the little grid paper. This is what we all used to do back in the day. So I would take just a grid paper to keep the foam from getting all gunked up, and then I can stamp. That's it. But if you want to put a grip mat, like a photopolymer grip mat, I take this out. And then I just stick the grip mat. You don't need the grip mat and the Stampin' Stencil mat. You don't need both in here. It's convenient. So I stick them both in. But I could just stick just this in the MISTI, just like so. And it would work just fine. But I stick that there, and then I stick this on top, and it works. It works. It works. So, okay. So got those. And then you have Pomeranians. Oh yeah, you'd have hair everywhere. Pomeranians shed so bad. I love Pomeranians. They're so derpy. Derpy little creatures. Okay, so there's education about don't melt things and how the MISTI works, I guess, basically. Anywho, let's line up the coordinating dies for the sentiments. Making sure I got everything lined up. There you go. Oh, okay. You linked that monster mat. Yeah, that's what we want. The monster mat. That one is enormous. Okay. So lined up that one. And then I gotta line up this one. And then we can die cut these little sentiments. Yep. Just like so. So line up these guys. Oh yeah, if you have a grip mat, take the foam out. Take the foam out of your MISTI. You don't need it. Don't have both. You'll have a hard time. You'll have a hard time because that's too much thickness. Oh, and when I'm when I'm using clear photopolymer stamps, I've got my grip mat. If I'm using red rubber on cling foam stamps, this comes out. I can leave this in here or take both out. It doesn't matter. But that's why these options exist, because it depends on what you're stamping with. So clear stamps, grip mat. Red rubber on cling foam stamps, take the stuff out, and then it'll work. It'll work good. And no, you're not dumb at all. Not at all. That's why I explain the things. And I always hope to get it to people because, yeah, if you don't know, how would you know? Okay, we're going to die cut the sentiments. Okay. Ooh, and I need to wipe off my die cut plate. Okay. Die cut 1. Die cut 2. And see, I had transverse. There was obviously watercolor sitting on top of the lines when I die cut. So when that happens, I just got to wipe off my die cut plate. So I'll just spray it with a little bit of water. Wipe it off really, really good. And we're good. It's good. We're good. Let's get that out of there. Okay. Dupe. Okay, we got that. Got that. Get rid of those for now. Put these back in the packaging so I don't lose them. Okay, so the other thing. Yeah, got all these little pieces. And then I need a card base, which I'm going to go with Nina Desert Storm cardstock for my card. Do I have one pre-cut? I don't think I do. I don't, so I need to cut a card base. Okay. Just going to take a piece of the Nina Desert Storm cardstock, cut that at 4 1/4 inches. Make sure I got it lined up. Yep. There we go. Save the other card base for a future card. And then we just need to score this at 5 1/2 inches. Boop. Fold that in half. There we go. So there's that. Okay. And then for... Oh yeah, we'll be able to see it. Okay. Oh, let me put this away. Pile of stuff here now. Mess going on. There we go. Yes, my glass board, which the unpaid intern was paying attention. He did his job. Mine is magnetic. So, okay. This is the Pepita background. I used this, I think, in last week's live. I've used it multiple times. And I used it in the video that'll be coming out later today. And I think this one's like on sale, like almost half off. You want to check?
What?
The Pepita background. I can't say it with a normal tone of voice. I don't know why. I picture minions in my head yelling like Pepita. Anyway, I need help. I think it's on sale. Like not even part of the code that's going on. I think it's like on like discounted.
Yeah, half off.
Yeah, it's like half price. I was just like, well, that's cool because I really like this background and I keep reaching for it. Anyway, face up on my work surface because this doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm going to ink it up with the cookie ink. Okay. I'm going to ink it up with the cookie ink. Just like so. I don't know why I'm worrying about the center. You're not going to see the center. We're going to cover all that up. I just need it on there. Okay. And then I'm going to press my card front into it. And like I said, we don't need to worry about the edges or the center because it's going to get covered up. Just the edges is all that matters. Yep. So we got our background for the card. This is going to dry back and soften quite a bit on this cardstock. And then let me put this where I don't, again, get my elbow in it. And then on the inside, I want to stamp. We'll stamp just the house image. And I'll stamp this sentiment because I thought that would be cute too. So for this, we'll get the MISTI out. There we go. Get that out of the way. So we'll line up. And then we can stamp this onto the inside with that same ink. Where did I put it? There it is. The cookie ink. There we go. It's got our little house on the inside too, just to give it that little extra pattern and detail. And then we can take the sentiment and just line that up like that. Yep. And then we can stamp that with the black ink. Technically, a Pepita is a pumpkin seed. And if you search Pepita fabric, it's another way to reference houndstooth type patterns. So this pattern, yes, is more of an argyle, but I don't know. I'm not in charge of naming anything, which is a good thing because I can never think of like names of anything ever. But I don't even care. They could name this crap background and I'd be like, we're going to use this crap background because it's my favorite. I like it. I like it. I like any sort of like geometric repeating pattern. It works with everything. So we got our background. Because see, we're only going to see like the edges, which I am more than okay with. So I've got just another piece of the same. This is just the Canson XL watercolor paper. I cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches so that my card base will, frame it up nicely. And then I'm going to adhere all my little pieces and my little sentiment. So we got these and our tree and our other little tree. Stick those kind of behind. We're going to have our little adorable, I love this little sun. His little smiley face is so cute. Oh, and there's these. I think I'm going to add these little silhouette. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to freehand stamp this. We're going to stamp these little dudes. Right there. All cute. Love it. Okay. Your dream job, naming Crayola crayons. They would fire me in the first week.
Soul crushing black.
Oh, yeah. It does not help that's why me and the unpaid intern are together. We both have like very dark, twisted senses of humor. And it is a good thing y'all can't hear us all the rest of the times because just inappropriate all the time. Okay, I need foam tape. We're going to build a little bit of dimension on this onto this little background. So, take some of my Big Mama foam tape, set that aside, and we're gonna pop up some of these, in fact all of these elements. Let's just do it. Why not? Go big or go home. No, I lied. We'll adhere the trees, the house will pop up to build a tiny bit of dimension. Yes. And the little sun. Okay. Stick that on the side for a moment. So our little sun, got to trim him down like that. And then it just fit. He's so cute. So got him. And then the trees will adhere just with craft tacky glue. Healing elixir gray. No, it'd be like forbidden water. And yeah, like Chris said, if those that didn't hurt, soul crushing black. Overthrow the corporate overlord's orange. I don't know, you know, like so many things. This does, yeah, I would get fired. I would get fired. Okay, let's stick that one right there. So got that. And then we've got that one. We'll be able to stick like that. Yeah, this'll work. This'll work. Murderous maroons. See, there we go. Yeah, you guys are getting on our wavelength. I will. There's nothing better. I don't think I will ever not love the smell of a new box of Crayola crayons. I remember as a kid, I used to get so upset. Internally, I never threw a fit or anything, but I used to get so upset when my school supplies would get handed to me. Like I didn't, the times where I didn't get to choose, and I'd get like, I think it was, is it Prang? The cheap crayons that weren't Crayola. Yeah. And I was always so disappointed, more so because of the smell. One, they didn't work as good as Crayola. They never did. And even as a kid, I was kind of picky about my art supplies. But yeah, the smell. Crayola has that very distinct smell to their crayons. And I just, yeah.
I always went for the glue stick myself.
Of course you were sniffing the glue. That doesn't surprise me at all. Don't sniff the glue, folks. This is why the unpaid intern just, he needs to be supervised. Yep. Okay, let's add some foam tape to our little house here. Just like so. Oh yeah, we can squeeze that right into there. And even that little piece I cut off from the first one, that fits right in there. Perfection. Okay. The crayon box with the sharpener. Oh yeah, that was always such a highlight when I would get one of those, the 64 box of crayons with the sharpener in the back, even though it always killed me to use the sharpener because, you know, this is why I am the way I am. I had issues back then. Like, man, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have a box of crayons that I could keep pristine and then a box to use. Does that not sound familiar, folks? Anyway, we're going to stick this guy right there. And then stick that one there. Pop that one there. So we'll cut a couple more, just little pieces of the foam tape. Just like that. Love it. Love it. I missed that. I think you two supervise each other within reason. Although he knows darn well he can't do nothing. I'm stubborn as a brick, and he is well aware of it.
I can be stubborn.
Yeah, he can be stubborn too. That's why we don't play board games together. Because he's the worst when it comes to playing board games. His stubbornness is... Ugh.
It's not about winning.
It's not about... And yeah, it's not about winning. But if he's not going to win, he is completely determined to ruin it for everyone else. It's awful. Okay, so we got that. Do I want to do it that way, or do I want to do it more like... No, I like it this way. Even though it kind of makes the sentiment a little bit weird, it just fits better visually. It just fits better. So, we're gonna adhere this. So this sentiment will just adhere, just like that. There we go. So get that adhered. Oh, see, and I love the Catan games, but yeah, played a couple of those with Chris when we first started dating, and then it was like, never again.
I still play with the kids.
He does. He plays it with the kids. I love those games, but yeah.
I have never won a Catan game in like years, but neither has anyone else.
You're the worst. You really are. Oh well. Oh well. Okay. Where do I want to avoid? Just the top portion. Okay. You can stick a piece right there. And then we can take one final piece of foam tape. And then what type of flooring? Well, I'm in a garage. I just have the cement floor in the garage, and then I have industrial, like office carpet tiles, the self-adhesive ones, but I got like industrial ones that are meant for like commercial offices, because I was able to order them from like Costco or something, and then we just installed them ourselves. But they're easy to, or they're hopefully going to be fairly easy to remove, because this isn't our like forever home. But that's all I have on the floor here. I did contemplate getting like putting in like area rugs in here too, because the floor gets cold in the winter. But instead I just wear big fuzzy slippers and socks. And yes, that way, since I just have like the carpet tiles that are very thin, my chair can roll easily and doesn't get caught. There. So I know it kind of is like home, you make me feel at, but you know, you make me feel at home. That's just, it is what it is. Okay? Okay?
Yoda's house.
Yeah, Yoda lives here. All right? Yeah, and then this will pop up also with foam squares, just to give it that little extra. Okay. And then we'll stick some Big Mama foam tape on here. And I haven't forgot about splatter. I'm still planning on adding it, although I should have left the sentiment off. I can still make it work. Okay. Let's go like this. We'll add foam tape to this. There we go. Okay. Doop. I gotta check. Yes, anyone who's like, if you have like carpeted floors and you have a rolling chair, you can get those like clear plastic mats that have the like spikes on the bottom of them. I used to have one of those for Chris when he had his home office set up in one of the bedrooms.
Mhm.
And yeah, we had one of those so that his chair could roll and not catch on the carpet constantly. Those were great. And yeah, you can get those again at Costco. Any office supply store carries them. Costco carries them.
Make sure you get the good ones though.
Yeah, get the good quality one. Because if you get like really cheap ones, they don't last and they'll literally crack and break and
Yep.
not fun. Not fun. Okay, I still want to add splatter, and my sentiments are adhered. So to work around that, I can make another little quick and easy template for those, just using another Post-it note. I can just die cut that from the Post-it note. There we go. So now I've got these little, not necessarily templates, these are going to be masks, which, because I die cut into the sticky part, they want to stick. So now I can mask off my sentiments. Just stay. So that I don't get splatter on top of them. I don't mind, but sometimes, you know, it could end up being like a big blob or whatever, and I don't want it obscuring the sentiment. So that will keep my sentiments protected. Put these back in the packaging. Save the Post-it note for things. And then we can add a little bit. I'm not going to add a ton. Just a bit. Just a bit. There we go. Got little greeblies. Okay. So, get my palette again. And there it is. I was like, I couldn't find it. And then a little bit of white gouache. Not a lot. Oh, and because we're live, y'all know the rules.
We do.
There we go. There we go. And my fan brush.
Add the chaos.
Yep. So we add a bit of water so I can thin this out a little bit. Oh, you meant this? That's in my most used tools. It's linked in there's a thing that says my most used tools. This is linked. It's by Honeybee, but there is a link to it. I use that. That's my little die pick. I use that all the time. Okay. Thin that out. And then I can add some splatter. Just a bit. Not a ton. You know? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's good. That's good. Okay. There we go. And then rinse it again because there's still paint stuck in there, or gouache still stuck in there. Yep. So cleaned off my little brush. I can wipe this off. He's good. This just needs to dry, which does not take very long. And because I masked off, which it was a good thing I did, because there was splotches of splatter that would have got on the sentiments. So now I can take off my little masks, and the sentiment is clean. And we're good. And then I just need that to dry, and then I'll also add a little bit of bling, because why not? I have these Lilac Pawsitively Dazzling gems, because they're sitting out from the project that's going to get posted a little later today. So we'll add a few little gems just to finish this off. And then once these are adhered, this card will be complete. So I'm going to just quickly blast this with my heat tool. Most of the smaller splatters already dry, but some of the larger bits aren't. So I'm just going to dry this faster. Dry enough. Dry enough. It's not really so much a spoon. It's meant to, when you're wiggling out, you know, if you got cardstock stuck in your wafer die, you can like poke it out, you know, the holes, and then you can use the little, it's like basically like a little spatula to help remove it. I don't use the spatula end of this very often, every once in a while, but yeah, I use the pokey end. I use this all the time. All the time. Anywho, while I'm doing this, you can pick a winner.
All right.
So we're gonna add a few little gems. I do not know. I don't know how to pronounce this, and I'm not going to be able to say it with a straight face, but thank you for the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. I want to add just a few of these little gems. We'll just tuck them in here. Just because. Yeah, just a few. Nothing crazy. There we go. And then just pick these up with my little embellishment wand and glue them down with little dabs. Actually, I think I might want to move these around. Yeah. Whatever works. Just like so.
Apparently, her name is Gabby.
Gabby? Well, thank you, Gabby. That's what I was thinking of, because it was like it made me think of, is it a merkin? Is that what it's called? The piece, the fit, you know what I mean? They use it in movies. Isn't it called a merkin? Isn't that what it's called? That's where my brain went. I told you guys, I've got the humor of a 12-year-old, all right? And now Chris is just like beet red and laughing. So welcome to our messed up brain space. Anyway, thank you, Gabby. Yeah, and that's the finished card. I'm gonna pair it with, I didn't link them. Where did I put them? Here they are. I am gonna pair this with a A2 grocery bag envelope. Simon released these, I think it was like last month's release. I don't even know. I need to order more of these because I really like them. And I've talked about this because I get asked a lot where I get my envelopes. The vast majority of them are from Simon Says Stamp. And I like them because they're self-adhesive. So I'm going to pair this with this little grocery bag envelope. It's just going to look real cute. Like super cute. Let me zoom in. There we go. Okay, some of you guys know exactly what I was talking about. See, I'm not the only one. All right. Oh my goodness. So yeah, there's our finished card with watercolor, all done with just positively saturated inks. And you can see what I was showing when I was doing the watercoloring, how I used like those 3 different shades, the darker green, the lighter green, and that yellow, and how it all just kind of blended together. And then, yeah, my little purple house with its little brickwork. Just very, very simple, you know? And then the splatter and the Pepita background and then the inside. Just cute and simple. This was fun. This was fun. So, we got that. And then I can switch over. There we go. There we go. Did you get a winner picked?
We did get a winner.
He got a winner picked. Okay, who am I sending this to?
This winner is Shelly from BC, Canada.
Shelly in BC.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I do plan on mailing out all the live stream cards most likely this week.
Now that the weather's calmed down a little
Yeah, now that the weather isn't insane. Cause yeah, I didn't mail out any of the, like, I have a month's worth now. Yeah, the last 3 winners, like the last 3 live streams, they're all sitting here. So those will all get mailed out hopefully this week. Cause we had 3 days of snow. It wasn't really a blizzard. It was just a lot of snow. We got a lot of snow this week. The weather turned, and I know Eastern Canada got it way worse than us because they had a ton of freezing rain.
Yeah.
It was bad. Not fun. So, yeah, we had a ton of snow, and I didn't leave the house, really, at all last week. But planning on leaving my house this week. So I'm hoping to get everything mailed out and caught up for once. So, yeah. And then as always, I'll take photos and, post all the things to my social medias and all that stuff. And like I said, for those that might have tuned in later, there is still a sale going on with specifically Simon Says Stamp brand products. That info is in the description box because that does end tonight. And then I will have another video coming. I guess I think I saw it in the comments. I think the mushroom set is currently sold out. Apologies, because this video is going to be that. And that's going to come just in a little bit. The video's already done. I've already got it uploaded. I just got to finish a few things on the back end. And then that'll get posted a little bit later today. And then, as always, I'll have other videos coming. I might go live tomorrow. I'm not making a promise. There's a couple of like bonus live streams I've been hoping to fit in, and I haven't had time. So I will give everyone as much of a heads up. I don't know yet for sure. I was hoping to do like noon Central Time, but we'll see. It's all going to depend. So, yeah. Yeah, the East got like really worse weather than we did. We just got a ton of snow.
Yep.
It was fun.
Still melting, but there's a lot.
Oh yeah, it completely. We could barely get out of our own driveway. It was so bad. There was so much snow. We had to like reschedule appointments and just chaos. But is what it is. Anywho, yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks to the unpaid intern, the disembodied hand.
Yeah,
cousin it. No, that's Thing.
Yeah,
Thing is the hand. Cousin It is the one with all the hair that you
Yes.
can't see. I can't wait for the next season of Wednesday. That was a good show.
It was a good show.
I think it's supposed to happen later this year.
Is it?
Yeah. I think they're done filming it, but they have to do all the like special effects and stuff. I don't know. We love the Addams. Oh, I love the Addams Family. That is one of my favorite movies. Always. Anywho, it's all so much work, all the editing and photos. Oh yeah. The back end stuff, all of the time I spend sitting in front of the screen is chaotic. But I'll get the photos up of this little guy and the blog post and all the things. That'll get done probably right away. And then, yeah, I'll have another video showing that card. That one will come up also a little later today. So just stay tuned. I'll have it posted all over the place. And then I'll have other videos and potentially a bonus live stream or 2 this week. We'll see. I make no promises. It is really hard to try and plan things in advance. My life is chaos, you guys. It's chaos. So, yeah. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. I hope you all had a good weekend. And stay tuned. I got more content coming, as always. It never ends. And I will talk to all of you later. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!